Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Well, hello, Archie.
And hello, Stevie. How we doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Happy Friday to you. Happy New Trek Week to you.
Happy New Trek Week to you. Yes, we are here. Today's stardate is
Stardate 143123.2.
And we are discussing Discovery, Season 4, Episode 3, entitled Choose to Live.
Choose to live.
Choose to live. Oh, also, this is our show. We should say that our show is now.
Yes, it is.
It's called Set Phasers. It's a highly illogical Star Trek podcast, and you are here with us now.
Yeah, you are. Lucky ducks.
Yeah, hello. And if you're, hey, listen, we don't like to brag, but if you're one of our Patreons, you're watching live, and I'm so sorry for how I look, but it can't be helped. It's just what my face is like.
I like your face. Is that the Virgin Mary behind you? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
What is that behind you?
It's some sort of saint. I'm not sure. I have no idea.
A saint. Okay.
I'm in my childhood
if you are a
home.
patron,
Yes.
If you are a patron of ours, you can watch us live running it down. Only at, and Aki dancing, of course, which he is doing now, distracting me, at patreon.com/setphasers, and you can become a patron of ours to get behind the scenes access, exclusive early access to episodes and more. So please do join us at patreon.com/setphasers. That's a tongue twister. Killer-Romulan-Warrior-Nun.
Yeah, we're about to get into it. Also, I have in my notes here that we have another Patreon subscriber watch party coming up on the 12th of December, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Yes, and we haven't picked an episode yet, I don't think. We're going to have to see what Netflix will allow us to watch, basically.
Or we could do Amazon too. No, I think most people said they've got Prime.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
okay. Well,
we're figuring.
We're going to figure it out. We're going to have a party. So, hey, listen, you sign up before the 12th, you get invited to the watch party. It's a Sunday afternoon, and all we do is talk nerdy things and watch Star Trek.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It's a good. We just.
I shut my wife out, and I go into my little office cave, and we do this. It's great.
Yeah, I shut my imaginary wife out and go into my just into my normal room. I don't leave the room. I just nothing changes for me. I'm just watching Trek with people, but we'd love to see you there. That's all. Well, we've got a great episode that came out this week. Some heavy stuff going down. I think maybe we should just run it down.
Let's run it down.
It's time to run it down.
Can you run it down for me? Tell me what just happened. Can you run it down for me?
Okay, let's get into it here. So far in season 4, what we've discovered is that there's a 5 light-year wide space anomaly that's eating up planetary systems like a hungry hippo. And that's a situation we're trying to deal with, and there's a lot of interpersonal stuff going on. But some of the good news from last season is that there's plenty of dilithium, and now that Starfleet and the Federation are back, they're trying to deliver dilithium to planets in need. And so we begin this episode on the USS Credence, and there's a first officer, and they're getting ready to deliver some dilithium to some planet, but when they let their shields down, there's an intruder alert, and they're attacked by the aforementioned Killer-Romulan-Warrior-Nuns, a.k.a. the Qowat Milat, who are there to steal their dilithium. The first officer fights and is killed, even though the Qowat Milat in charge says choose to live. He chooses to fight, and he dies, which, you know what? We can chat about it when we chat about it, but I feel like, Starfleet would understand if he was like, I didn't want to possibly die for this, just a commodity. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I
whatever.
hear that.
He decides to be a hero. He dies, and it causes a big stink because apparently there have been thefts by this same Qowat Milat sister, who is Sister Javini. But this is the first time she's killed someone, apparently. So a council is called. It's the president of Navarre. It's the president of the Federation, Michael, Admiral Vance, and also a representative of the Qowat Milat, none other than Michael's mother, known as Dr. B, Dr. Burnham, DRB. The notorious DRB is back on this episode, so that's wonderful. They had coordinates in that dilithium, another reason why, in hindsight, I feel like that first officer should have stood down. But so they know where Javini must have gone. They know where this dilithium must have gone, and they want to pursue the matter. However, it's very sensitive time. Navarre has yet to join the Federation. President Rillick wants them to join the Federation, but it's this Qowat Milat sister has killed a Starfleet officer, and they need to bring her to justice, but they can't do that over the wishes of the Qowat Milat. So a joint mission is proposed, a mission where Qowat Milat and the Federation work together to hunt down Javini, to bring her to justice. They're going to do it while respecting the Qowat Milat ways, but also Michael is taken aside by President Rillick, who says, you got to be in charge, but you need to bring this person in because Starfleet needs to show strength by capturing this Javini. Otherwise, people are going to lose confidence. But at the same time, keep respecting Navarre because it's tentative and we want Navarre to join the Federation. Meanwhile, Tilly runs into Saru at lunch and she asks if she can water his flowers because she's been talking to Dr. Culber. And apparently, since her comfort zone is no longer comfortable, she's decided to get outside of her comfort zone, doing uncomfortable things. Saru's like, sure, you can water my flowers. One of them is dangerous. But he's like, but I'll try to find something that really gets you out of your comfort zone. Michael actually goes to visit Book because they're going to use his ship to chase down Javini. And they find out that Stamets is working on a new theory. He's got this theory that the anomaly is a, quote, primordial wormhole. He's also come up with a nickname for the dark matter anomaly. He's calling it the DMA, the dark matter anomaly. And they just need to see if they can find some tachyons to prove that it's a wormhole, yada, yada, yada. They're headed to Navarre to ask the Navarre Science Institute to help them. So you can see this is a very tricky, balancy time with Navarre and Starfleet. Also happening on the ship, this is probably the C plot line, Gray is getting his new body, and Guardian Z is showing up, and they're going to try to transfer Gray's consciousness from the symbiote inside of Adira into the synthetic body that Gray has. But Guardian Z is concerned because he's like, this may not work. It may take a while. We're not entirely sure we're going to be able to transfer your consciousness appropriately. We may lose you forever. It's a chance you got to take. So those are the three big things that are happening this episode. Saru suggests that Tilly goes on this away mission with Michael, even though she's not really a combat person. This will be great to get her out of her comfort zone. And maybe Tilly's intuitive diplomatic skills will also be helpful in keeping everyone's tempers under control. So they head off in search of Javini. There's a brief discussion between Dr. Burnham and Captain Michael regarding whether or not they think Javini is justified in her actions, what could be the justification thereof, and whether or not, how to bring this person in without offending the Qowat Milat and Navarre, but also satisfying the Federation's demands. They arrive at the coordinates. They're on looks like a moon sort of asteroid, big rock circling a planet, and they find that it's hollow underneath, so they're going to go down. Dr. B is like, you can't go with your phasers because you got to do this the Qowat Milat way, so they give Tilly and Michael swords just in time for intruders to attack the ship, and there's some fighting, and guess who shows up? Javini. And there's another Qowat Milat. So there's two Qowat Milat. There's Michael's mother and an unnamed Qowat Milat whose name we so didn't. She's such a red shirt that at no point did anyone say, Tanya, replace the EPS jingle jangles. They were just like, your job is to show up and die. And she does get killed by Javini. That's it. End of story. Super red shirt moment. Do we have a red shirt moment thing? I don't think we do.
No, you need to make one.
No, you're right. What would
No.
it be? We don't need to.
I feel like it would be hey, do you want to come down to the planet? Or something like that.
What would it be?
I
It would
don't
be
know.
like, I'm so glad to be on this away mission.
Yes.
Eyes, look your last.
My first away mission. How exciting.
This is really exciting. I'm so glad I chose command staff. Blah! Okay,
Mm.
well, I'll work on
We'll
that.
figure that out. That's hard to do with an audio clip.
That's tough. I'm gonna put we're gonna have top people working on that. So they're attacked. Javini kills the person, but they manage to sort of like fend off everyone else. Only Javini is left. She basically says, because Javini is the one who nursed Michael's mother back to health when Michael's mother arrived in the future, sick from time sickness or whatever, and weak and without a place to go and not knowing whether anyone will be able to follow. So there's a connection there. And so, Dr. B wants to save Javini. So Javini says, if you leave now, you can live, but if you follow me, your lives are forfeit. And of course, Michael, Tilly, and Dr. B decide they're going to follow. Meanwhile, they're able to get Grey Tal's consciousness out of the Tal symbiote, and maybe they're putting the whole Tal symbiote's consciousness into Grey. I didn't understand whether or not Adira is no longer a host or what's happening there. I guess that'll be explained in the future.
The science eluded me, I think.
It's not science.
And it was all a bit fuzzy anyway.
Yes, very, very fuzzy science. Anyway, they're able to get the unjoining, but the consciousness is not yet being sensed within Grey's body, and they'll have to wait. Oh, by the way, remember we couldn't remember the name of the doctor who is the other doctor other than Culber? Well, in capital letters, Dr. Pollard is the other doctor on the ship. The one who I feel like if Culber becomes like, okay, this is chat stuff. Anyway, her name's Dr. Pollard. Michael, Tilly, and Dr. B, they zoom into the cavern. The cavern looks like a crypt. There's like a dead alien there, a species they've never seen before. It looks like the graves have been robbed. Javini's cloak is over one of these unnamed species. The dilithium has been activated. They find out it's not a tomb. It's not an asteroid. It's a ship. And so they go looking for the reactor. Tilly takes out the reactor, and then Michael says, okay, power it down, and then stay here as bait for a trap to get Javini. Meanwhile, Stamets and Book go down to Navarre to work with the Navarre Institute on figuring out whether or not this could be a primordial wormhole. The Navarrians? Any thoughts on that? Just
yes.
the Navarre?
Well, aren't they Vulcan? It's
But
very
they're not
confusing.
Vulcan. They're conjoined Vulcan, Romulan. In that
that's right.
episode last season,
I
there's like
forget.
Romulans, Vulcans, and then people who are like mixed.
That's right.
And I forget what they're called. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, I guess they're the Navarians.
I'm going to call them Navarrians until someone
We're
says
corrected.
they are the Navarre.
Or they
whatever.
could. I mean, they could well be the Navarre.
We are the Navarre.
The Navarre.
Navarre.
The Navarre.
I don't know.
I am Navarre.
Yeah.
From Navarre.
I am Navarre, far from Navarre. You like that? That's a nice vocal warm-up. Obviously, I just came up with that. Anyway, the Navarrians, scientists, enter a state of deep meditation, which obviously Stamets finds deeply frustrating, but they're supposed to be working on the problem to see if there's any tachyon radiation, which could prove that this is a wormhole because it's the only requisite item that is missing from the data, and maybe it's in there somewhere. Adira is really worried about Grey because Grey still hasn't come out of the limbo that they're in. And Saru and Culber have a conversation where Saru acknowledges that Culber is doing like a billion things on the ship and he's trying to do them well, and it can be very hard. And Adira goes to see Grey's body and speaks to the body, but also maybe the consciousness that's trying to work its way through the body, and takes Grey's hand and says they can lead them back into the body. Back to our main plot line. Javini finds Tilly, and then Dr. B and Michael beam in. There's a big fight. Dr. B's like, I got this. Javini and Dr. B fight. Javini gets the upper hand, holds a knife to Dr. B's neck. She orders Tilly to repair the dilithium reactor. Michael, realizing what is going on here with the ship, these, after speaking to Giovanni for a second, these are Abronians. There was their star went supernova. Their biomatter has concentrations of what's it called? Latinum. Remember, latinum is like more precious than gold. And so that's why people were robbing their, quote, graves, but they're not graves. They're cryostasis chambers. And apparently something is wrong with the cryostasis because these people were supposed to wake up a long time ago and go to the planet that they're circling. And the reason that Giovanni was stealing dilithium is because Giovanni needed to power the reactor to move this ship away from the planet in case the anomaly, which is eating up star systems, comes here to eat this planet, because she has taken on their cause as a hopeless cause, one that she will fight to the end. So she gives Michael enough time to try and fix the cryo chambers before Tilly fixes the reactor to maybe help defuse the situation, and then the quest can be at an end. Meanwhile, on Navarre, Stamets has proven his theory is unproven because they cannot find any tachyon radiation. They try one last ditch effort. They think if they do a mind meld with Book, they can see what he saw, what he actually saw in the moment, his observations more clearly, and see if there's any superluminal radiation, which I guess is what tachyons are. Superluminal, more than luminous, extra luminous, big, more than bright. Anyway, they go into Book's mind. He has to relive the trauma of losing everyone. While he's in there, he has to go back to the memory of the last time he saw his nephew and his brother, and he sees that his nephew turned around and looked at him and saw that Book did love him. And this is a moment of releasing some anxiety and trauma that Book has been holding since the loss of his planet Quajon, and he is grateful for that moment. The president comes out and says there is no evidence of any superluminal radiation. And then says, my condolences are insufficient. Book says, thank you.
No tachyons present.
No tachyons present. So Michael, on the weird planet where there's a hostage situation until he's trying to fix the reactor, manages to fix the cryopods, because that ain't nothing for your girl, Michael. And the Abronians start to come alive, and Tilly fixes the engine so that they can go if the anomaly comes. So Giovanni's quest is at an end. She drops her sword. She turns herself in. She's arrested. They go back to Book's ship, and they fly back to Discovery. As they're flying back to Discovery, Tilly talks to Dr. B about how she's been feeling out of sorts, and Dr. B explains the whole Qowat Milat, the Killer-Romulan-Warrior-Nun theory of paths, this idea of choosing a path, and the path is choosing to live, and sometimes a path ends, as Giovanni's did, and the next path is what the next path has to be, and that in order to find it, you have to be willing to look into yourself with, quote, absolute candor. Absolute candor. Michael brings Giovanni before the presidents of both Navarre and the Federation and Admiral Vance. And then Giovanni is remanded into the custody of Navarre over, obviously, the protestations of Michael and even Vance, who's because the president wants Navarre in the Federation and so makes this political move, even though Giovanni killed a Starfleet officer. It's a little complicated. I kind of get where all the parties are coming from there. Tilly visits Saru and his plants. Gray comes awake and alive, and he was able to hear Adira guiding him in, and says that they'll always be linked. And the last scene is Book in his quarters, Michael's quarters. I don't know. He's on a bed, and he's looking at a hollow of the farce of Quajon, and he has his IQ Zen amulet on, which he hasn't worn in years. And Michael comes in, and they talk, and they lie together in bed, and they look up at the forest. And that is the end of Choose to Live, episode 3 of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. Why don't we have a little chat about that?
Let's have a quick chat.
I say, darling, let's do a quick chat about that.
Yes, let's do. Let's do.
Let's do.
Let's do.
Let's do.
Anything? Let's do. Anything particular that you would like to discuss? Stevie?
I mean, this whole DMA.
Dark matter anomaly.
Thank you. I wonder where it's coming from. Do we still think it could be... Do we think it could be a being of its own? Do we think it could be the chain? I don't know why I did that, because that was not the sound. But yeah, so I'm still a little confused. I was really glad that Book got some closure.
Yeah,
Thought that
yeah.
was really nice.
Mhm.
And one thing I really liked about the episode, just as a one thought before we continue with deeper chat,
Mhm.
at the end, well, not, it wasn't quite the end, when Michael and Tilly looked at the alien species that were, coming to life and leaving
Yeah.
their ship, Tilly said, "Oh, you did that," and Michael said, "Oh no, we did that," and then they have a little hug.
They do.
And I kind of thought, they do have a little hug, but I thought it was a really nice moment because here's Michael, captain of the ship, and it's not like we ever saw Picard and Riker have a little hug when something went right, And I just thought, I don't think would have seen this. We've never seen this with any other crew before.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really nice moment and something that's very distinct to Discovery.
This is true. I agree. There's a lot of dealing with like personal, their relationships. I mean, I always felt that even now of all the modern Star Trek franchises before Discovery, the relationships between characters was strongest overall on TNG. That's kind of why you keep coming back. But it's usually not Picard having the great relationship. Picard's a great leader, gives great speeches, gives great advice, but it's more like Riker and Deanna, it's Geordi and Data, So I love that in Discovery you get, yes, Tilly and Michael and Book, Saru and Michael, Saru and Tilly. Everyone's got these interrelated, and those are just, every character is interrelated. Culber and Stamets and Adira and Gray. I mean, that's like a family right there. That's also crew. It's just great. So I agree with that.
Picard's always felt to me like he was sort of a father figure to everyone. They could be friends with him and they could have a good, close relationship, but he still maintained a distance. So that was interesting. One other thought I had was around Gray's incorporation, if you like, to Gray LLC.
Yeah.
It was just such a nice physical representation of transness. The nice moment that he had where he didn't want that mole on his hand. And it speaks to the body that he's choosing to incorporate into and how he is coming into his own. And I thought, obviously that's never really been done in Trek.
Right.
And they have used that species to do it before, but never to this extent.
Right.
And it was just really a lovely moment between the two of them when they were actually sort of able to see each other. And Gray had his coming of age in terms of a trans person.
Right. And I think the relationship between Adira and Gray, I mean, they haven't been together since the accident on that ship that Adira was on, right? Since Gray died. And so, I mean, just a huge moment. And also Culber coming in, that family moment was so big.
Yeah, it was so cute.
I got a real swell in my heart. I have to say, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, I was a bit bummed he came in at that particular moment because they looked like they were going to have a little kiss.
Well, they'll get
and then
to the
Culber,
kissing.
I know.
Come on,
I know,
gotta get
but it was just
Daddy
cute.
Culber. Well, he was very excited. Everyone's excited. I loved it.
I had a little emotional moment when he came in and they had a hug. I thought it was really cute.
Yeah. Everybody, I mean, listen, talk about aspiring dad energy. Like, I think a lot of people want Doctor Hugh Culber to be their dad as well. It's including people on the crew.
Yeah.
Like, this episode, I even felt like Saru was like, man, I'd like it if Culber was my dad. I think there's you bring up something that underscores a lot of what happens in this episode. And I love that the title works in this way. This idea of choosing to live, life and choice are very much a part of the quandaries everyone has in this episode, from Tilly's trying to choose what her next path is, to Gray's choice of a body and literally to live, to the Qowat Milat obviously choosing to live. And then we find out that the longer phrase is, this is the end of your current path, or whatever it is. Choose to live. I forgot. Did I write it down? The path you are on is at an end. Please choose to live. And then also Michael and Book have that moment at the end, and Book has, chosen to, he says something to the effect of like, if I don't open myself up to the grief, then I'll lose all the other memories of how special it is to be alive. So I love that union of all the elements of the story of this episode. I thought that was very sweet. And I guess if I had one other big thing, I guess it's going to be the political shit. Seems really trenchant.
Yes.
I thought I liked Rillick at the beginning, that maybe, she was saying Michael has my complete confidence, and maybe they had come to some understanding, but it really feels like she's very much an operator, and doesn't have something wrong with that. It just feels like this is so, you want Starfleet to be so aspirational, and President Rillick is sort of failing to live up to that aspirational thing. But, she's a conductor.
Yeah, I think the real politic, if you like, is coming into play. But it's always existed. I think, almost Starfleet admirals have in some way in Trek been the big bad real politic that
almost every time.
Almost every time.
Yeah. If you want to stay incorruptible, never get above captain.
Yeah. Stay at captain for as long as you can.
Yeah. All of the TOS movies are about Kirk being like, I should never have become an admiral. I should have just stayed a captain. Yeah. And I agree with that.
It's an interesting subtext.
So far, I haven't watched Janeway's the
New
kid
Prodigy?
show, Prodigy. But I guess she's not really even an admiral on that show. She's like a hollow of a captain. But I was thinking the only captain who, like, it's important that they became admiral is Archer.
True.
Every other captain,
Pike?
Does Pike become an admiral? No, Pike dies. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but not before he's an admiral.
Does he become Admiral Pike?
I think so. Yeah, because he's an Admiral Pike when he dies.
I think that's true. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But he becomes Admiral Pike and then he dies. Should have stayed captain, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Picard becomes an admiral and then has a falling out with the Federation. Don't become an admiral. That's not. I feel like there should be two different paths in the academy, and the command path should stop at captain, and there should be some like politics, half Section 31 specialty that leads you into the like admiral chair, because it seems like that's all just like being a drag, except for this super cool captain whose name admiral who died in episode season 2, Karen.
Oh, yeah.
What was her last name?
Oh, wait, hang on. Was that season 2?
I think that was season 2. Remember she had like a thing with the real Lorca?
That's right, with Lorca. I liked her.
And then they can't defuse that bomb, so she stays behind. She was
Wait,
great.
I thought oh, that's right. She did stay behind. She had
was the
the
real
near
deal.
death moment, and then she really died.
Yes, yeah.
Blew
Anyway,
her up to make sure.
to make sure. She was what an admiral should be. She show up on the ship, lay down the law, bounce, show up on the ship, defuse a bomb, give people.
Yeah.
Anyway, how did we get here?
That's a discussion of admirals.
Anyway, yeah, I think the politics is going to play a major part. I keep waiting for the chain to come back. I assume the chain is not gone, but I don't know how it's going to manifest in this season. The chain is the new Vulcan Star Empire, or Klingons. They're like the baddies.
Yeah, like the Romulans. Hang on, so we had the Romulans, and then we had the Cardassians.
Yes,
We didn't like
it was
them.
Klingons in TOS, Romulans in TNG, Cardassians in Deep Space Nine. Ooh, what is it in Voyager? It's kind of like a mix between the Maquis, who we have to who they actually have to work with, because that's how the inciting incident
The
is
Borg.
chasing the Maquis, and then in the end it's the
True.
Borg. Captain Janeway has to kill all the
Species
Borg.
159264.
1564. Do you have the actual numbers? 'Cause I was just making
No,
those
I
up.
don't.
I used to know it.
You
No.
did. We spoke about it recently. We had to
Yeah.
Google it. We could Google it now if you want to.
I can't Google anything because the setup I have is too crazy. Right
Would you
here.
like me to?
I would love for you to Google what species.
You can Google that.
Species 8472.
8472. 3 of my favorite numbers and a 7. So I don't know why I can't remember that. Anyway, and then in Enterprise, it's the weird thing that blows up half the Earth. This in episode in season 3, where they have to go to that cloud. Man, Enterprise really is a trip. Anyway, great chat. I love this episode. Let's talk about quotable moments.
Quotable moments. What did you have?
I have so many. This was a very quotable episode.
It was very quotable. Toots. I was going to say totally or totes.
It was totable.
It came out toots.
Tootsly quotable.
Toots.
It's tootsly quotable.
Totally quotable.
Toot sweet.
Totally quotable.
It was totally quotable.
All right. I had... Can we discuss the schedule for the day? Science first, nap later.
That was great. That was
I
a
love
Stamets
that.
stinger.
That was a Stamets stinger.
Ooh, that stings.
Nice.
Woo, we finally got to use it.
I know. We've never had to. We've never been able to use that. Or very rarely.
I'm so glad you picked that one up. Ugh, science now, nap later. That's good.
Yeah.
I liked Saru and Tilly. Saru says, "Be careful not to touch the swamp kelp while it is in bloom." And Tilly says, "Why? What happens if I do?" And Saru says, "It is better if you do not know."
Yep. Actually, Saru again. It is difficult to ride. What was it?
2 veil beasts.
2 veil beasts with only 1 set of buttocks.
They have beautiful language, Kelpian.
It is. But it's a nice way of saying, it's hard to sit on 2 chairs because you can only do it half-assed. I think, whatever the phrase is.
Yeah. It's a good way of saying it's hard to sit on 2 chairs. Yes. Couldn't agree more. I also liked a touching moment between Book and Michael at the very end. Michael says, "You seem peaceful." And Book says, "In this moment, yeah." And Michael says, "Sometimes that's all we get." Juice a little.
Book had another one. Indeed. I thought Book had another one where he was talking to the Navarre president and he said, "A drowning man only needs 1 breath."
That was heavy.
That was a small, but it was effective.
Yeah. All right, Book. Okay,
yeah.
Book.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I really enjoyed Tilly saying absolute candor. I dig that.
I dig that. It was nice to have Michael's mum back. We didn't make too much. There was a cute little moment where Michael and her mum were having a bit of an argument, and Tilly was like, "My mum didn't really like kids around, and if she were here, I would just give her a big hug."
Yeah, Tilly's
as if to say, "Stop fighting."
How dare you fight? You've both flown 1,000 miles into the future. You were the Red Angel, for Christ's sake. Yeah. Tilly's on point. Tilly's doing what Tilly do. Tilly, I like where Tilly's at.
Is it Tilly time?
It's Tilly time.
Tilly, don't be silly. Tilly, space is wide.
Space is wide.
Clearly it gets chilly. Tilly, it's your time.
You know what? That might be the best thing I've ever made. Wow. It's so happy. I love it. It makes me feel so. I feel good listening to it, and I don't like listening to myself ever.
I always loved the rundown and Google.
Well,
Google's
great because it feels like it's for a game show.
You can Google that. It's probably the lowest I've ever managed to do it.
It's also whatever it is the lowest I can possibly say.
Oh, good Lord. I think we have gone on long enough, don't
we
you?
have gone, yes. Let's hit next time.
Next time on Set Phasers.
Yes, next time on Set Phasers, we'll be discussing episode 4 of season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. And the title of I looked up the title, as I always do when I can. It is All is Possible.
All is possible.
Possible.
I'll try and do an effect on that.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, dear listeners, for joining us. We are Set Phasers, a highly logical Star Trek podcast. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. Just search Set Phasers. And Aki, where do they go if they want to join the Patreon?
If you want to go to join the Patreon, listen, if you want to support us, patronize us even, we can take it. You can go to patreon.com/setphasers. And there's a couple cool things up there. And if you are part of it, you'll see me dancing right now.
Yes, Aki and the dancing. Don't forget, we have our Netflix watch party / teleparty Sunday, the 12th of December. So if you do want to join us for that and watch Trek with other nerds just like us and us, then go to our Patreon and sign up, and we will allow you to do so. And anything else? Aki,
Well, we should mention that we put out new episodes every Monday.
That's true.
You can find them wherever you get your podcasts at Phasers. We've reviewed so many seasons of. There's so many back episodes. You could spend a month listening to our mellifluous voices discussing
You could.
a future of joy and happiness.
Indeed. Well, enough of all this guff. Computer, I think it's time to go. But until next time, I am Stevie Mans.
And I am no qualitative evidence of superluminous radiation. And this is Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Computer. End program.